time, starting from 7:30. But first, we will start by answering to some really fundamental and helpful questions about the college application process. With the first one being, up a little bit, regarding the most difficult part in our US or Canada undergraduate college application process. So for me, that was finding a balanced way to express my voice that was interesting, true to myself, and also made me stand out in the college application process. I was not very used to writing about myself, so that was awkward at first. Some of you may also experience that, but it's totally fine. By the only way to deal with this is by writing more and getting to know about yourself, and also being open and not being afraid to be vulnerable in front of other people or in your supplements or especially in your personal statement. What I also found difficult was talking about my accomplishments while also staying true to myself and presenting my qualities and my personality, because in the final run, that's what actually matters. Your writing needs to reflect your essence and what's important to you. So that's for me. You like that?
Yes, for me, I totally agree with Eleni, and I want to add that the strategy for me was also very difficult, and I think this is what matters the most. Actually, to decide and to select the right university for you. And one challenge that I had, and I had to think about it a lot, was whether I want to proceed with the early decision or not. And to find the right university for me, I attended many informational sessions. I visited the websites of the universities, and I searched the common dataset, which is a file that all universities have. And I also wanted to find specific clubs, organizations, or internships that the universities have.
Okay, so for me, it was the most difficult part was to choose the right schools to apply to. So this is a very important part of the application process. I spent most of my time researching schools, and for me, it was difficult because I was in need of great financial aid. So it was difficult for me to find a school that had both the academics and the life I wanted, and also could um, help me in the financial issues that I had for scholarships. So it required so much hours of researching in many documents and reaching out to universities. It's very important to reach out, even if in the beginning you feel uncomfortable to. It's very important to ask universities, and the counselors there are very very helpful.
Okay, so for me, the most difficult thing was probably, like Eleni said, finding something about me that makes me stand out, because I know that the university, I only applied to 2 universities in Canada, so it wasn't really such a big, range of universities. And they're both really competitive, especially the one that I'm planning on going to. So it was just finding a way to make me stand out. And they're doing construction work. Sorry about that. And I would recommend really just asking people for help, especially, writing, like Eleni said, again, writing about yourself sometimes can be tricky, but, with help and writing and, finding more about yourself, I think that's something that's important, and that helped me with my application process.
Like Eleni and Talia said, I would have to agree with them. The hardest thing is trying to make your application personal, and it's really hard to show because you can't express your full self in the word limitations that the personal statements have, and it can be quite hard, like finding what topics you're going to write about, because you know about your personality and you don't know what's the best thing that will you can say to the other ones to show the most that you can. So the word limitation on the personal statements and expressing the full self was the hardest thing for me.
Okay, so hi everyone, it's nice to meet you. I guess I'll have to agree with everything that everybody said before me, and I would like to emphasize that the application is basically I saw it as a puzzle that has many pieces, and you basically have to connect them together and create an application, a puzzle that can reflect your true self as accurately as possible. So that was the most difficult thing for me. And as everybody said, in the Greek educational system, we're not as used to writing about ourselves, and we're most like used to writing about other topics that are not really personal. So that can only be achieved with a lot of practice, and also brainstorming topics is also very important. Like if you just sit down and observe the world around you, you can find things that relate to you very easily, and you can be like, like, wow, that's something I could write about, and that would reflect who I really am. So basically that was the most difficult part for me.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your opinions. We'll now move on to the second question regarding the most rewarding part in our application process. I think for me, it was not when I got my acceptance letter, because by then I was very tired. You'll be very tired as well, but it's one of the happiest moments in the application process as well. But the happiest of all moments for me was when I submitted my final application on College Board, and this little confetti came up on my screen. It was a moment when I was happy about myself, and you can never be fully satisfied about your personal statement, your supplements, and your resume. Moment I felt satisfied with the work that I had put into it, and my effort. I think that many of you can relate to that feeling. So that was the happiest and most rewarding moment for me.
Yes, for me too. The most rewarding moment was the time that I received the letter from the university that I have applied to early decision. But I also think that another moment that I felt really satisfied with myself was the time when I had the final version of the personal statement in my hands, and it was rewarding because I was satisfied with myself and how I have written all the things that I wanted, and how the things that I have written reflected myself. And one advice that I want to give you is about the personal statement is to not get dissatisfied with yourself in the beginning, because for me at least it was very difficult to find an idea to write and to express myself. But I brainstormed in the beginning many ideas, and then I cut off all the excess information, and I focused on finding a unique story about myself.
I would agree with Electra. The personal statement is very difficult to reach the final version of it, but it's so rewarding because, as we said earlier, it's strange to write about yourself. We're not used to it, but it's not only in the personal statement, but only in and also in the essays. It's so rewarding in knowing that you have achieved, actually, but writing down your achievements and your personality, you understand better yourself also, and you make someone else um, to know your story. It's very important, and we don't do it every day. But for me, the most rewarding thing, I have to admit, was that I understood that it's okay not to know what you want to do, and this is a very unique thing about the US. You're allowed to continue exploring your interest until, for example, sophomore year of college or university. So you have so many options. You do not have always to declare your major or know exactly where you're gonna be. And I found this very interesting, and I found myself that because I'm in between some fields, I found it very rewarding to know that it's okay to be between things right now.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point that you pointed out. I have to agree with Eleni on this. The completing the application for me was like the best moment. Just because for what I wanted to study, I had to create like a portfolio. So I had to create my own website and submit my own work, and that I've never done anything like that before, and it took me quite a while to do that. So I would say, yeah, the most rewarding thing was finally submitting it, and you feel like you put your heart and soul into what you do. So it's really nice to share that with whoever will see it. But yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Like everyone else said, I think everything is the best. Everything is really, really, you feel really rewarded. As Dimitra Prasad said, the puzzle. When you finish, it's everything to become a puzzle. Then everything is like really rewarding to you. But I would have to disagree with everyone else and say that my time when I felt most rewarded was when I found my dream college, and I was imagining scenarios while studying in it. And I think that would be the best, when finding the perfect institution.
Okay, so for me, of course, like getting your acceptance letter and like knowing how much money, how much financial aid you got from college was a very emotional moment for me. But one of the best things that I took out from this whole application process was that I really got to explore myself. As like we told you before, through this college essay writing, you really get to see who you are. And if you're struggling with self-esteem, that's a great thing to do. So yeah, I really got to see who I really am, and I love that I will have the chance to keep exploring that in college. So like it's very, very important, because only like if you know who you are, you can really create the life you want. So that was the greatest thing that I got from this whole application. And of course that I will start in the US, but I'm just seeing the whole picture in general.
I completely agree with Dimitra. I think that the whole process helps you make steps towards discovering yourself, because as Ophelia said, it's very difficult to find out what exactly you want to do for the next like 5 to 10 years. Be asking that of us, and that's why all of us, I think, and all of you watching, want to apply in the US to explore different fields, and that's completely fine. So moving on to the third and final question, regarding what we have done differently had we gone through this process again. So you might already be tired of hearing this, and you will certainly get tired of hearing this by December, but please start your college applications and your college days now, especially your personal statement. And I mean that with all my heart. Time management is extremely important, because you don't want to leave, especially all your supplements. That's what I did for the Christmas break. That was destructive. You should not do that. I think that you need to have multiple drafts in order to have a completed essay, or at least something that reflects you, your essence, and your values. It's not something you can do in a day or even in a month. And I also think that I would have gotten and asked for more feedback, not only from your counselors, of course, but from students like us who have gone through this process, and from people that do know you. So from your family, from your friends, from anyone that you trust, because they are the people who know the real you and can tell you whether or not that is reflected through your essay. You do not need to follow all of their feedback, but trust me, it will help. So I think that's it for me, Lecter.
Yes, I agree. And one mistake that I have made was that I took the English test during October, I think, and I didn't have enough time to work on it and take it a second time. So generally, yes, start from now thinking about your personal statement and your essays. And another thing that I would like to do differently is to perhaps to check which universities have an early action and then to submit an application to them, because I don't know, I didn't have the chance to, or I didn't have the idea to submit an application to a university that has an early action. And if I have had the opportunity to do this, I would have a backup plan if anything went wrong in the early decision round.
So for me, it would be in the beginning. I was very interesting, very interested on the prestige of a university, on the rankings, or the statistics. Those are not a measure of judgment. You should not pick your top school by statistics or rankings. You have to learn more about the academics or the specific programs that you're interested in. Because, for example, university can be great in law, but if I want to do engineering, it will not be great for me. It's college in the US is so personal. You have to find something that fits you, and not just because it's high on rankings. This was one of the mistakes I made on the beginning, and also sometimes it doesn't work out for you to go to your dream school. So you don't have to fall in love with only one school and think, oh, if I don't go there, everything else is not good or anything like this. Every universe has its advantages and disadvantages, and it depends really on the person and how you will. If you go in with a bad mindset, it will not benefit you. Every universe can give you something new and something different.
Yeah, I completely agree with Efthimiel on this. Like, sometimes we're so set on going to one place where we can kind of, get distracted and forget that there are many other places that would be perfect for us as well. So, I mean, for me, I applied to Canada. I'm gonna go there. It's obviously very different process than the US. So just keep that in mind, whoever has questions later. But I would have to agree with Eleni where she said asking for help and having multiple drafts of. I had to create a personal profile, so it's pretty similar to your like supplemental essays and things that you do in the US. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's just asking for help if you need it. People know you, and yeah, taking time as well. Time is a big thing. So yeah, those are my two things that I think are very important.
In your path to going to college, you're gonna find many obstacles, I believe, and it's gonna be a really stressful situation while trying to go to your dream college or the college that you want to go. Of course, you're gonna have people besides you from your family or your school that are going to help you. But I believe that the best thing that somebody can do is have an agenda in order to have those goggles to see what's coming in front of you, so you can like jump over it, so you can nothing can get hold you back.
For me, two things that I would have done differently is firstly, I would prepare a lot more for the IELTS test that I took, or the TOEFL, like for everyone that will take the TOEFL, and also take it early. Like I took the IELTS in the middle of July, and it was so hot out there, and I just couldn't really concentrate in my test. So take the test as early as possible. And like I'm pretty satisfied with my score. And like I the reason I'm saying this is that not that I believe I could have gotten into a better school. I don't think actually there are bad and good schools. It all depends on how you take advantage of the opportunities that you have. So the other thing would be that I would read a lot more books. So that's like not reading books is so bad because it will help you so much with writing your essays, brainstorming topics, like developing different ideas on your mind that you could probably put in your essays. So yeah, reading books is a life, like a general life tip. So yeah, these two.
Once again, I completely agree with Dimitra, and it also ties in with our first question, which is regarding any tips for the personal statement and small things that can make a difference. Also, a reminder, please feel free to put any question you have in that. We're here to respond and communicate with you uh, anyway. So, um, do you want to take this in the same turn we responded to the rest of the questions? So maybe I can start and then.
Yeah, sure.
So, okay. The one tip that I would give, as Dimitra said, was to try to read and expose yourself to different things while writing your personal statement. For example, go out for a walk or read a new book, read random articles, because it can really help your brain make new connections between yourself, what you're writing, and the world around you, and that's what matters. In your personal statement, you need to show the connection between you, your community, and the world in general. You should not present yourself as an individual. You should put that into a general context to show the university what you can offer, not just to that institution, but what you want to offer to the world in general. Other than that, I would say you should try to write about really small things that you do that make you you, because it's not the UN conference you participated in or the science fair. It's the, I don't know, waking up at 5 a.m. to go for a run that will make you stand out in a way. So try to be as honest and vulnerable as you can, as we said before.
Yes, I totally agree. What I want is basically to prepare it as soon as possible and to have to submit many drafts to your counselor so as to get enough feedback. And so, for example, what Eleni said about the ideas, I wrote about volunteering and how this helped me to develop as a person and as a character. And I would say to try to find a story or an event that changed you or that made you realize some things. And these things can be common and can come from the everyday life.
I don't think I have anything else to add. I think the girls before me covered me. Like personal statement, as the word says, is very personal. So for every one of us, it's literally something different. Some may write a story that they heard on a movie. Someone might write an experience they.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass this to Odysseus just because I didn't have to write a personal essay. It was kind of a different process, and when you apply to Canada, you know, depending on what school you apply to, sometimes you just have to send your transcripts in, and other times you have to send a profile or complete something different. So it's really depending on what school you go to. So I'm just gonna Odysseus can continue.
Although maybe finding the title that you want to talk about in your personal statement can be really difficult. For myself, the most difficult part was going from draft one to draft two, from draft two to draft three, because you did so much hard work to write everything, and then you had to delete stuff because you, they didn't mean as much as you thought they meant to you, and you have to find another way to represent them, and that was the hardest part because you put so much effort into it, and of course it's not going to be as good as you want it to be from draft one. So yes, try to do as many drafts as you can, and don't hesitate to delete the stuff that you did because you're gonna do better next time.
Okay, so I have two things to say on this topic. The first one would be that like while you're writing your essay, imagine that you're the admissions counselor that's going to read it. So for every sentence that you're writing, just imagine you're this counselor and see if what you're writing is like important or truly says something about you. So being in others people's shoes is so helpful in writing personal statements. And the other thing would be to write as simply as possible. I mean, this is not a research paper. This is not an essay for your English class. It's something that has to be really heartfelt, really personal. So writing simple things that really come out of your heart and truly say something about you is very, very important. Just imagine that you're writing to like an old person. Just explain things very simply, but in a way that say a lot about you at the same time. Do not write complicated things. Do not write complicated sentences as we are used to writing in Greek. So yeah, that's really a general writing tip for college.
I completely agree with everything that was said, and I want to add one last thing. And this is actually something a quote I'm stealing from an admissions officer I heard, like you did this evening, and that's why these sessions are helpful. He said that if your personal statement does not have little pearls, which are like gems that show who you are, then you should just get rid of the draft or rewrite the entire thing. That's what they said. And I think that what it means is that you need to put in little things that make you precious. That's one tip that helped me write my personal statement. Those pearls. So moving on to the next great question. What are the differences between the US and Canada application process? Maybe for this one, Talia, you want to share your experience, and then Navas can do that as well.
Right, yeah, sure. So like I mentioned previously, depending on the institution that you choose to study at, the process will be different. And also, depending on what faculty you go into, it will be different. So I only applied to 2 places, like I said, so I didn't really get, such a wide range of universities to apply to. But from my experience, I mean, the US universities are much more, let's say, personal. I mean, they focus on like extracurriculars a lot and things like this, where the Canadian universities don't as much. I mean, they do in some universities, like higher ranked ones, but other ones they just are based more so on your grades. So regarding the admissions, it really differs depending on which institution you choose, from my experience.
So does anyone want to respond to that question as well? I mean, I can share with me or
Yeah, sure. So for the US, most of the universities require a personal statement, which is the same. You write it once and you send it to all of your universities, and some may require extra essays, either more personalized to the school or something more personalized to you. For example, what inspires you, or why did you choose a university? It really depends on the university. It's not a standard model, and some may, for example, require an interview, but it's a different process for its university. But most of them use a common platform.
Also, especially for this year and possibly the next year, you really need to look into whether the school requires you to take the SAT or other exams. Because of the coronavirus, many schools had a test-free or optional policy. And you also need to discuss with your council whether you think that a good or a great SAT score would boost your application. Okay. So moving on to the next one, and kind of address this
really quick.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. About like you said about SATs. Canadian universities don't usually require SATs. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're, planning on applying there. They do usually have like a standardized English test that you have to take, but if you've been studying in full-time education that is in English for the last 4 years consecutively before you go to a Canadian university, you don't have to take any English tests, so that's something to keep in mind.
Thank you, Talia. And also thank you to Ileka. We'll miss you. So the next question regarding how many drafts of personal statements we should write. I think that for me, it was helpful to start different personal statements, but only one. For example, in the beginning, I wrote, I think, 3 or 5 different drafts about weird things. It's going to be difficult for you to find the appropriate topic. And that's why it's important to have different options, but then choose one and go along with it.
So for me, I started one draft and I wrote half, and then I had a discussion with my counselor, which really helped me, and then we did a whole new idea. I rewrote the whole personal statement. I don't think I used anything from the first one, but the second one was the good one I sent. I worked only on this one, but it took me 3 months to finalize. And then it was the problem with the word count. I think most of us had that we had to have exactly 600 words or less, but it's difficult to write your whole story in 600 words. So yeah, this is the next question also. So the counselor really helped me, not only this on the personal statement, but in the whole process. But I think it was very helpful in the personal statement because it was the first thing I did. So I was not in the mindset of the US applications. As you go along, you will get into the mindset and understand how it works and what the universities want from you. But in the beginning, it's really helpful to discuss it with someone that had the experience and knows how a personal statement should look like. Not that there is a specific model, but in general.
So I started with, I started with finding the titles that I'm going to write the personal statement for, and one of them was the COVID one. But after writing like the first draft and the second draft, things were, I was deleting paragraphs and it was becoming really weird, I would say. And I would keep changing titles and keep changing, maybe this is better for the COVID essay that I'm going to write. And so I did many drafts and wrote many different personal statements. But at the end, I finished with 3, with about 5 to 6 drafts for each personal statement. But write as much as you can, I think, and you'll find the topic that will best represent you, because then you won't have enough words to write what you want to write, and you'll try to mix everything up.
Okay, so for me, I guess I was kind of lucky because the way I started writing my essays was with bullet points and what I was going to focus on each paragraph. And then I developed this, which was basically my first draft in the form of a whole essay. And then I also had to do a second draft. And then after that, the thing I would basically do was just to make comments, or making small changes to this, and developing it more better. And basically, yeah. So something I also had to do, like my counselors told me to do, advised me actually to do, was that I had to switch like my topics. For example, my main essay, I was writing it for to be like my COVID essay, but then I had to switch it. So yeah, I didn't really write many drafts. which was good.
I'm so sorry. I also have to go now. Thank you very much. Feel free to contact me. I left my email in the chat. So, bye.
Bye. Thank you, Femina. So maybe if everyone feels comfortable, we can talk about what we wrote in our personal statements. To give students an example of, I mean, you can write and you should write about something that's very personal to you, and it might be completely different from what we say here, what you read online. I wrote about something really basic, but I tried to write it in a creative way. So I wrote about a scholarship I received and how it helped me progress as a human being, and also how it helped me understand some things about myself. And I also tried to weave into the essay some different stories from my past and some stories from me helping, my friends, or from my entire high school experience. So that's also one advice that I would like to give you. Try to put in as much of your life and what you have done throughout your primary school or even high school experience. And do not be afraid to combine different stories to show who you are.
Yeah, I'm supposed to answer. I guess I didn't write a personal statement, so like I said, it's different. Odysseus.
I don't have anything else to add upon. Dimitra can go.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, we're talking about our essay topics, right?
Yeah, if you feel free and comfortable sharing, of course.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So my main essay topic for the Common App was basically a project that I created last spring with the help of my counselors. It's called the International Project, and we're basically 11 girls from all around the world, like from China, from Turkey, and many, many other countries. And I was basically the organizer of this project, and my initial goal was to just get in touch with other people that were going through the same thing that I was going through, like quarantine, which was a very unique experience that I think all of us had. And it's basically a support group that turned out to be a friendship group, which I'm really grateful for. And I basically wrote about how this changed me, how this helped me with my self-esteem, how I got to talk about myself and learn so many other things about other people and other cultures. So that was my main essay. And the fact that we're a girl group really helped me with my college decision and acceptance. And my other essay, my optional essay, was that was basically my connection with nature and my village in the mountain, and how much I love going to the nature and taking photographs and seeing the world through my camera. And it was an essay really connected and dedicated to my village, and I love it. And my Corona essay was focused on Greek traditional dancing, which is like my passion and hobby for the past 14 years of my life. And I would basically just wrote how much I enjoyed dancing, like in the fests of my village, and getting, like having this strong connection with the elders of my village, and how much it helped them seeing like young people of the village dancing and having fun, and how much this changed with Corona, and how sad I was, but at the same time how hopeful that made me, that like we're gonna meet again and dance and have fun and help like old people have fun again. So these were my main essays. And my like college supplemental essay was to write about a song that has a particular meaning for me.
So all of my main essays had a main part to it, and all of them were mainly about overcoming an obstacle, because I have learning differences, and how hard it was in my daily routine and how I overcame it. And in the COVID statements, I wrote about all of the things I did in the summer that helped me a lot and that changed my life and changed the way I seeing stuff, and how sometimes quarantine helped me into improve myself.
Thank you everyone for sharing. Um, Quickly, we're going to move on to the next great question regarding the reason why we chose to apply in the US or Canada, or if any of you guys applied to the UK as well. So for me, I chose to apply to the US because, as Euphemia said before, I was torn between two fields and I still am. So I'm planning to either major in neuroscience or biology, but I'm still really interested in politics and philosophy. And you can pursue both at a US university, and that's extremely important. What also made the US institutions stand out to me was that they help you become a great thing other than an academic or a student. And that was really important to me because they help you through the extracurriculars and the different volunteering programs that they have, but also through the open and diverse learning environment. They help you grow as an individual. And that's something that was essential to me that maybe not Greek universities do not offer.
Right. So I chose to go to Canadian University for many reasons. Firstly, well, obviously I have family in Canada, as which is a plus. But also financially, it's better for a Canadian citizen like me, which is something that I is very important as well. But also because of the rankings are very high, like depending on, I'm planning to go to the University of British Columbia, so it's a very good school. So it's very strong. The learning environment, like you said, is very diverse, international, so that's also a plus, something that's very important to me. And also the fact that I can choose to change what I want to do. It's very that Canadian universities also have that option, which is I think it's very important. Like my first choice was media studies, my second choice was kinesiology, so they're like totally different things. So I don't know what I want to do. So that's something that's really good about Canadian universities as well, if you're looking to apply there.
I was between studying in the US college and the Greek college, but I thought that when I first heard about the US colleges, it was like a dream to me because they were smaller, they were neater, they were like more, you had more contact with your professors and everybody else and the students. And if you needed help, everybody told me that it was really easy to get in touch with them and deal with the issue right away before it becomes something really hard that some of some of the people can never like go over that obstacle that built through the time. So yes, that's mainly why I went to a US college. I picked a US college, and because I could go with an undecided major, and if I decided that if I tried something else and didn't like it, then I could change my major to doing something else.
I was personally exposed to the American educational systems like since a very young age. Two of my siblings have studied in the US and they live there. So as Talia said, I also have family there, which is definitely a plus to the whole story. So I really got to see the benefits that my siblings had from like studying in such a place. And the greatest thing about American colleges and universities is that they basically look at you as a whole personality. Like you're not just a grade on a paper, which I love it. I love this kind of mindset um, and yeah. So another thing, like as everybody mentioned, is that you're able to choose what you want to study like when you're 20 years old, not like 17 as in Greece. which is definitely a plus. You're just 17. How are you supposed to know what you want to do with your life? So yeah, basically that, and many other reasons, but these were the major ones.
I think we have time to respond to one final question regarding which curricular activities are good for applying in college. Generally, and I think we might all agree on this, there are no good activities or extracurriculars for everyone because everyone is special, and that's what's going to make you stand out in the college application process, as we've been saying. So I would say experiment a lot during high school, but also try to find the things and clubs that you actually enjoy and pursue them. So do not just to debate because you want to study law and say, oh, this is going to make me look good in the eyes of the admissions officer. Because in the end, it probably won't, because many people debate and you won't be enjoying it. And that's the most important thing, to enjoy the curricular things that you do, and also be truthful and authentic, because that's going to help you be authentic while you write about it, to try to convince your admissions officer you do care about the things that you present.
Yeah, regarding extracurriculars, again, in Canada, they don't really look at it. They look at it a little, but not as much as the US for sure. To be honest, I wouldn't even really think so much like, oh, what will the university like? I mean, like Eleni said, you have to enjoy what you're doing. So I think that's the most important thing. I know some people who have done things just to get in university and they don't like it. So yeah, I would just say, try different things and see what you like.
Definitely, I would say it's great to experiment yourself with all of these clubs and activities, because most likely you're gonna find some kind of these activities into college too, and it's better going like prepared there because it's a new environment than saying trying to experiment there. So this is one thing, and the other thing is definitely do something that represents yourself, because it's a piece of the puzzle, like Dimitra said earlier, and you have to represent your personality, because the college not only will pick you because you're a great student, but it will select you because you're a great fit for the institution. And if you show a fake personality, then you're gonna find more problems in the future, definitely.
I totally agree with what Eleni said, that you should not just take up on a hobby or an activity that you're doing it just because, like, just to put on your CV, on your resume. It does not really matter. I think what matters the most is to actually have an extracurricular activity on your CV that you can show to the committee, to the admissions counselor, that you actually care about it, that you like it, that you actually take something out of it. And also another thing that I believe it helps with your application is to have many activities, is to be involved in many activities that have to do with your with your passion. For example, if you have decided on what you want to do, like be a researcher, a scientist, or a diplomat, and having many activities on your CV that are related to what you want to do is very helpful. For example, I've participated in multiple MUN conferences because I like international relations. And fun fact, Eleni was my chair in last year's ACMUN. And yeah, I think that's also like a helpful tip.
That's it from us. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to everyone for sharing your experiences. We've gone through this, so you can go through this as well. It might seem hard and weird and difficult right now, but believe me, you'll be perfectly fine by next December. You can do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.